So this is a new facility that a lot of people in Hong Kong don't know about. It's right here in the heart of Admiralty, and it's the Hong Kong Science and Technology Park Wheelock Gallery. And we want to say thank you to the Hong Kong Science and Technology Park for sponsoring this event through this venue tonight. They're co-organizers, great partners, and we do love them. All right, so here we go. People are just arriving, they're getting a bite, but a lot of them have gone in because they want to check out the technology. Let's go check it out ourselves. Hi guys. Sorry to interrupt, but we were saying hello to the world. It's Facebook Live, and we want to introduce you to Alvin Cheung from HandyRehab by Zunasaki. And he's going to tell us a little bit about the technology, aren't you, Alvin?
Cool, yeah, sure.
Fantastic.
So, we're working on robotics for rehabilitations, for stroke rehabilitations. What it does is that it goes on the hand of the stroke patients, and then we help them to complete tasks they couldn't do otherwise because of the strokes, because of brain cells injuries. So we have the stroke robotic gloves that goes on the hands of Chris here. So, and then we have a surface EMG sensors that detects muscle movement of hands. So one thing we can help them to do is that passive movements. So when they have strokes, they usually have a very limited range of motions because they simply cannot control the muscles. So one thing we can help them to do is like so the whole range. So actually help them to grab hold of something or just simply stretch the fingers out so that they can have more blood circulations and muscle flow so that the situations would not deteriorate that much. And for example, yes. And then adding on a surface EMG sensors, what we can do is that we can interpret the intentions of movement of the stroke patients. So we usually put that on the same side of the impaired hand of the stroke patients, and then we can adjust their sensitivity of the sensors, choose the gesture. So what happens is that when I try to move my hand right now, the robotic glove will help the stroke patient's arm to complete tasks they can do. Right. Yes. And you can see that for a lot of stroke patients, they cannot open their arms, open their hands smoothly. And what happens now is that I try to open up the hand just by a little bit. We can pick up the sensor, we can pick up the signals and the intention that help them do the whole range. So in the sense that we can help them improve their motivations of rehabilitations because this action is it's activated by the intention of the stroke patients. And the second thing on the neuro rehabilitation level is that we help them to rehabilitate better because that when they try to do something, they cannot do the full range.
Right.
And we can help them do the full range now in the sense that the sensory nerves on fingers will send a better signal to the brain, a clearer signal to the brain that when you try to send the signals to the arm, this is the actions that you want to do. Right.
So Alvin, as people use this, do they get better at using it as they learn how to use the technology?
Oh, definitely. We have done a lot of research in Hollywood in Hong Kong.
Right.
We see that over 70% of patients can improve by at least 50% of the head conditions.
Okay.
Over just 20 sessions of training.
Great.
So these patients are not just subactive patients. We see that this improvement also happens on chronic patients that have strokes over 10 years.
How many people have used the technology so far, actual patients?
On our product, because this is a very new product, so we are working with a lot of non-profits or community centers. Currently, we have about 30 patients that has been trying tests on it already.
Okay.
So we have about 15-20 centers that has been using this.
Wow.
We are talking to some hospital, trying to go through the procurement process,
right,
so that this product can be used in their daily rehabilitations activities.
Does it require complex licensing to be put into the market?
Certain certifications will be needed, but you can see that it's very simple, it's not invasive, very light. We run on lithium batteries and we charge on USB. So
I'll have a look, let me pick it up.
Yeah, sure.
Oh yeah, not heavy at all. Okay. Yeah. And how are you funding this whole project?
We got funding from, say, first the Hong Kong Science Park, and then also the SIE fund of Hong Kong government.
Right.
And the most importantly is our private investors, industrialists from Hong Kong as well.
Okay.
So they help us a lot on on this product. And eventually, we're going to sell on this product, so the company will be financially sustainable.
Fantastic. Are you looking for investors for the next round?
Definitely.
All right, investors, you heard it. Alvin, we're going to go check in with your co-presenter for the day, but thank you very much, and you're doing great work here, and I'm sure you're going to help a lot of people.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Alvin.
That's me.
All right, carry on, guys. Cool. All right, so that's the first of our speakers. We're going to go check out the second. Hi, everybody. We're doing a little Facebook Live, and we're hoping to get a demo.
Should we use Zoe or should we use Gary?
It's up to us. Why don't we use Zoe? Zoe's one of the stars of the show. She can be our model.
Then you're gonna give a couple minutes for Gary to make sure that Zoe knows how to use it.
Sensors in the ear.
Right.
I'll tell you what.
Oh, okay. So it's
And can I steal him for a second? Sure. Okay, because maybe we'll ask you a couple of questions while they're getting set up.
Okay, we'll that's fine.
So this is Facebook Live. We're talking to the founder of Wellbeing Digital. You can also look up WBD 101. So he's a founder company. Thanks for coming out today to share with everybody here at the Healthtech O2O event. Maybe you can tell people a little bit about how you founded the company, what the original idea was, and how you got it going.
Okay, so years ago we saw a lot of people running around literally with a MP3 player and an earphone.
Sure.
So we realized that a lot of people, they exercise with earphones.
Yep.
And we figured out, besides delivering music, what else can we do? And so that started the whole idea of being able to sense physiological signals such as heart rate through the ear, so that it can advise you, whether you should speed up or slow down.
Okay.
You've got to break the bank in the sense.
It makes a noise or get some kind of indicator.
Yes, you can actually have the app read out, if you're exceeding your optimal heart rate.
Right. Okay. Wow, that's fantastic. And when did you start this up?
The whole technology actually was patented 2008.
Yep.
So as with everything technology, it took us 10 years before we get a whole ecosystem there and accuracy, and then before it go into consumer product like this.
Gotcha. And how many rounds of funding did you go through to get to where you are today and get it out in the market?
We just closed our A round.
You just closed your A round.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Have you made the results public, or is that still top secret for now?
For today, it's public, I guess.
Today?
Yes.
Are you telling everybody for the first time?
No, I told you.
Okay, how much?
A couple of millions.
A couple of million US? Okay, great. Good on you. That's great. Thank you. So, we're going to have a look at the product in a second.
Okay.
How big is the team now?
We got 20 people spanning from Hong Kong to Shenzhen.
Okay.
Because this is where a lot of IoT devices happen.
Right. Are you guys based in the science park? Or
Yes.
You are the Hong Kong Science and Technology Park. Okay, so you're on home turf here today at the Wheelock Gallery.
Absolutely, right. That's why I'm feeling much more relieved.
Fantastic.
Not like, during
Yeah, we're going to look forward to getting your presentation up front.
Thank you.
Sounds
Thank you.
good.
Thank you.
Are they ready to go over here, do you think?
I think over there, Zoe's having her stress test out.
Okay.
It's actually a 3-minute process.
Okay.
Where you actually have to measure what's known as an interbeat interval,
Right.
which is RI.
Yeah.
In the medical, there are actually many medical papers that you can Google that says that if your interbeat interval is very fixed. Interbeat interval means the duration between each of your heartbeats. If that remains very consistent, you're actually very stressed out.
Okay.
But on the other hand, if it keeps kind of changing, then you're more relaxed.
Gotcha.
So that's so Zoe is having her interval measured,
Okay.
and in that particular product, as we all know, music helps you relax.
Yep.
But the problem is you don't know which music helps you to relax. So there's an AI in there that determines over time by delivering you a piece of music and seeing your response.
Really?
So it knows what kind of music can help you,
Okay.
which may be different from me.
Right. Kind of like when my wife was pregnant, she would put on certain music to calm the baby down.
Kind of like that.
Yeah,
Because-
but now you really know you got a scientific
Because
backup
it
for
also
yourself.
calms her down.
Yeah. Okay.
You got to take care of mama, right?
That's
When you
for
calm
sure.
the mama, you calm the baby.
Yeah, for
right?
sure.
It doesn't work if both go up.
Yeah.
Right. You got to figure it out.
Fantastic. I think we're ready to go here.
Okay, let me take a look. I think we have 3 minutes, so probably one more minute in there.
Okay.
But basically, I think we can.
Maybe we can start the demo because we're going to start the big show soon. All right.
冇建議咧，你應該用嗰隻。
These guys will be around afterwards.
應該用呢隻。But anyway, so why don't we take a look at this? So there's a bar in here that shows basically how her stress will be. in 3 minutes time when compared to people of the same age group. Our stress level changes, our tolerance for stress actually changes as we age. So with this device, she can actually compare herself and then figure out is it music or is it the exercise that she has to do. And then yeah, so that's basically how it works.
You guys will be talking soon?
Yeah.
Okay.
Scary.
Where are you from? Okay, so local.
My best friend, Luigi Latona.
Where are you from?
Oh, are we still live?
Yes, we are.
Okay. We're going to get back on. Denny, why don't you grab a seat?
We're ready to go.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to go live. We're just going to give you a pan of the room while we get set up. We'll be with you in 2 minutes. Astor.
It's been biased and the more beneficial. So we're not following
Not my bag.
Yeah, she was not. It was not a fun time. She really got treated. Yeah. Very much. She majored actually in English literature. Well, so she got into sales. She was good at sales. I think English literature and things like that. Their technical understanding of the language is great, but we can sometimes all the slang, right? So you can see that. She understands the language very well, but our kids also tease her a little bit with the slang. All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Hello and welcome to the Healthtech O2O event Breakthrough by NexChange. NexChange is the company I work for. My name is Andrew Work. Yes, that's Work, W-O-R-K for real. And I want to welcome everybody here tonight. Thank you for coming to the Hong Kong Science and Technology Park. A lot of you think, oh, the Hong Kong Science and Tech Park, that's like out in Sha Tin. Yes, that of course is the mothership, but they have all kinds of great things like the Golden Egg, where they hold a lot of events. It's very cool. But they also have this new facility downtown, and we want to have a shout out to them on Facebook Live around the world. We got you guys, we got people, I think we said 1.5 billion Facebook viewers. That was my target, because that's how many people they have on Facebook. So I'm sure that's how many are watching. So we want to welcome them. We want to thank the Hong Kong Science and Technology Park for supporting us through making this facility available. It's in the heart of Hong Kong. It's absolutely spectacular, very cool. So we're really happy to have their support. So NexChange, the company that I work with, is headquartered in Hong Kong. We create, market, and invest in innovative products. We help companies to succeed. We create products ourselves. I run the media side. Some of you might know our website. You read our news. You watch our videos. Maybe you've been to our events, the FinTech O2O events, the Block O2O events in the blockchain space, and of course, Healthtech. Some of you might have been to our big Healthtech events that we had in January this year and past. 1,500 people, full day, lots of fun, lots of great speakers, one of whom has spoken before, and he's coming back tonight. We're happy to have him, but he'll be a little bit later. So that's a little bit about the company of NexChange. If you want to come and talk to us about blockchain, FinTech, AI, smart cities, or of course, Healthtech, you can come say hello to me, or our CEO, Juan Lee, is in the back of the room. Shout out from Juan Lee. There we go. Everybody say hi, Juan. You don't clap, he hasn't done anything yet. He's done lots of impressive things, just not tonight. But do say hello to him later. We got a great team from NexChange. You met some of them on their way in. Jeff is helping me out on AV. You see the man with the camera, Thomas. He's one of our interns from McGill University in Montreal. Of course, great medical school, medical research university. I'm having a shout out to my alma mater. And you'll see Zoe Cheung around as well. So hello to the interns. So with that, we want to get started. You guys know the routine because you signed up. We've got two great Hong Kong entrepreneurs that are going to come up here, talk about their technologies, what's going on with their companies for about 10 to 15 minutes each, and then we're going to have hear from a world-class investor who's going to tell us about what's going on in investment in the health tech space. Jeff, we do have a WeChat channel for our health tech, so if you want to be part of that conversation, you can do a scan now. You know, get your phones out and get a quick scan and get on there. Of course, we have a Facebook page where our Facebook Live is being broadcast right now. You want to get on that one as well. Of course, Twitter at NexChanger, we the main Facebook for NexChange, and of course our website. You want to get on there and sign up for our newsletter. Okay, next up, that's me. All right, there you go. You don't need to take a picture of that. It's okay. Just come and talk to me. The person you do want to hear from is Mr. Alvin Cheung. He is the co-founder and COO for the company called HandyRehab, which is part of the, can I call it the Michalski project? Sure, I just did. Fantastic. This man is an unlikely entrepreneur. You go have a look at his background. He worked with Cathay Pacific for a short time while he was going to school. Then they liked him so much they put him over to John Spire, of course, the owner of Cathay Pacific. Did some very high-level intellectual work at the Harvard Asian and International Project. And you're like, what in all that says that he is going to start up a health technology company? Nothing, but he's doing a great job, and that was why we invited him to come up here and talk about their technology. Some of you got to experience it outside, but he's going to come and give us the lowdown. So please welcome Alvin Cheung, HandyRehab. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi guys, my name is Alvin Cheung, the co-founder and CEO of Synthesizer Limited. Our brand is called HandyRehab. So what we're trying to do, Synthesizer is a Hong Kong-based robotic social venture. We're trying to make affordable robotics for rehabilitations. And we're trying to do that and also improve the quality of living of the disabled and elderly in Hong Kong. So in simple words, we make cool robotic stuffs. Right? So this is our first flagship product. It's a robotic exoskeleton that helps stroke patients to regain independence and motivations to rehabilitate. What it is a wireless robotic glove that helps them to move their fingers again, and also help them complete daily tasks they couldn't do otherwise because of stroke or other brain injuries like stroke, spinal cord injuries or traumatic brain injuries. So this is one of the features we had back in December last year. In one of the patients and training in one of our partner clinics in Hong Kong right now. So I'm not going to bore you with what's the theory behind yet. Maybe now you want to see the product first, right? Yeah. Right? Cool. Yeah. So can I have Jeffrey on stage to help me do a little quick demo, please? Little hands of applause to Jeffrey. So I will have you to put on this robotic glove, please. From the right hand. Yes. So you can see that everything is portable, it's wireless, and it looks pretty cool, I think. I hope. Yeah, pretty cool, right? Yeah. So we're trying to make a robotics for rehabilitations fun and motivating, not like other products in the market, which is metallic, which is cold, and which is heavy. And by doing this, we can make it very wireless and portable, and so that this product can actually go into every community and also households in the Philippines, right? Can you help me? Yes. Cool, sweet. So, do you want to stand right now? So, yeah. So the robotic glove set does actually a couple of few things for stroke patients. One of which is helping them to do some passive movements. So, yeah, say like close their hands or like open their hands for some simple tasks. Yeah. But what this means is that we can actually help them to grab hold on some real life objects, like a cup. Right. And Jeffrey now cannot open his hand and can drop a cup. Right? And the most interesting about it is that I was gonna drop, right? So the most interesting about this is that we add on a service EMG sensors, which is a muscle sensors that goes on the arm of the stroke patients. So for demonstration purpose, I'll put it on my arm first. So it's a slip-on design, so very easily put it on. And what it does is that it detects the muscle movement of my arm. So in real life, we put it on a stroke patient's arm, so that it will detect the micro muscle movement of their movements. Right. And what it does is that it picks up these signals and then help them to do tasks they want to do, but they couldn't do because of a stroke. Say, for example, Jeffrey wanted to close his hand, but he got a stroke. He can do that, right? But we have these sensors that goes on his arm. I can help them to do it, right? So try to grab hold on something, it will trigger them robotic growth and have them do it. For example, and also you can see the range of movements of mine. Because a lot of stroke patients, they have very limited range of movement because they cannot control the muscles as a normal person does. So they can do like a very small range of movements, like this. Right. See that, right? So I actually just move my fingers a little bit, but then we can pick up this micro movement and then use robotic growth to have the stroke patients to do the whole range of movements. What it means two things, right? One thing is that the movement is with intention driven by patients. So when it only triggers it when it only triggers the robotic growth to move when the patients want to move a little bit, right? So it actually helps them to motivate them to move their fingers more and helps them motivate them to train their muscles more, right? And the second thing that is on neural rehabilitation level is that because we can do that, we can do when they use a small range, they can help them to do the whole range, right? So it actually helps them to strengthen their neural rehabilitation connections between the brain and the muscles on the hands. So it helps them to improve their rehabilitations quicker, faster, in a more effective manner. And another thing that we find very interesting is that when we help them to do the finger movement, say grab hold on the cup and up, there we go. So say we help them grab hold on some real life objects right now, and on a motivation level, we observe that a lot of patients, because we have to do that, they want to move more of their arms. Right? They want to move their elbow, but they want to move their shoulders. Because we have to do the most difficult part on fingers, right? Fingers is the most difficult part of rehabilitation because there are a lot of fine movements, a lot of it's very complicated joints as well. So we have to do the most difficult part, and they are motivated to do more moving the elbows and shoulders as well. So this product actually not just helps them to improve fingers motions, but also other parts of their hands. So thanks, Jeffrey. I'll open your hand. So. Okay. And so this is the neural rehabilitations theory we went through a little bit before. Usually when we try to do emotions right now, our brain will send a signal to the muscle groups, and then our muscle groups will do the exact same things that our brain instructed to do. Because we don't have any damage in our brain cells or any injuries, so we can do the task we do very easily. For stroke patients, that is connection. They have a lot of damaged brain cells because of strokes. So they cannot control their arms and they cannot control the muscles voluntarily. If we intercept them in the middle, put a sensor on it, extract the intentional movement, we can help them to do the whole task so that the neural rehabilitation cycle is completed. The sensory nerves can send a better and clearer signals back to the brain, which helps them to control the muscles. And our project starts actually almost 10 years ago, but our company is founded 4 years ago. Back in university, we have been testing with a lot of stroke patients in Hong Kong as well. We have published a lot of papers from in the Hong Kong PolyU. This is one of the stroke cases that we have worked with back in PolyU, using first generations of robotic glove. You can see that he has impaired left hand. He couldn't control his hand and move perfectly because of strokes. after 10 sessions of trainings, you can see that his left hand has improved a lot. So each session is only about 25 minutes, and it's each session we train him 2 to 3 times every week, so quite intensively. And after only 20 sessions, you can see that the improvement is very visible. A lot of improvement, and he recovered by over 90% already in just 20 sessions. There are about 200 patients the project has worked before with, and we see that over 70% of the patients has improved their hand functions by 50% or more. These patients are not only like acute cases which have strokes, say 2 weeks ago, 2 months ago. We also work with patients that have been suffering from stroke for over 10 plus years already, and we still see improvement on these patients. So we want to see this project, see this impact, bring it to the communities, not just hospitals. Also, we want to bring this impact to elderly homes, community centers, and eventually households. That's why we started this project 4 years ago. We're in the middle of commercializing this technology, manufacturing our first product, and hopefully that we can see mark in July this year, and launch a product in a couple of months later. Cool. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So I think we've got time for a couple of questions. If people want to ask you about the technology, I have to admit, when I first heard about it, I thought it was just for people actually just getting around using it. I didn't realize it had a rehabilitative function. But if does anybody out there have a question they'd like to ask before we go to our next speaker about the investment? Yes, please.
This users had to identify other than the stroke. I mean, does it work in other conditions, something like say Parkinsonism or something like that?
So just for people that might not have heard it for the Facebook Live, could it work for other diseases like Parkinson and other? Sure.
For Parkinson, they are like stabilizing purpose, but we cannot do that exactly right now. But we also work. There are a lot of physicians in the market. They want to test it on spinal cord injury patients, also like traumatic brain injury patients that have certain kind of brain injuries because of any accidents like car crash. So they cannot control the whole hands or anything below their neck. And, it actually helps them. It actually works for these patients.
So you will be eventually targeting other limbs also, like lower limbs?
Could you work with other limbs as well? It's something other than the hand? Could it work for other parts of the body?
Oh, definitely. That's the goal of our company. That's the strategy. We want to be we do Iron Man tech over applications. We start big.
Very good. How big do you think the market is for this?
Wow, it is huge. I think it's over 1.3 billion US dollars right now, and but the growth rate is very fast. It's growing by about 30% annually. So it's expanding a lot because of the robotic technologies. It's really new actually. It has worked with a lot of like motor technologies and also sensor technologies. So we can see that the industry is picking up very quickly.
Okay. Very good. Question over here.
You said you want to make it affordable. What are the aspects that are allowing you to make it for less money than competition?
Okay, so question is about how do we make it affordable? How do we bring down the price so it's affordable for more people?
So I mean, if you grab hold of this product, it's actually made out of plastics mostly, right? So the manufacturing cost is not that big. I think to make it affordable, it goes into the efficiency and the reason why we found this company, right? We are charging about 1/3 to 1/4 price of our competitors' cost. Why we do that? Because we see that we think that we can make a balance between financial stability and also making impact to the patients. My partner, who's also the founder of the company, we want to see this product out in the market. Lots of people using it. We have 25,000 people suffering from strokes every year just in Hong Kong. There are about 300,000 stroke survivors living among us. We don't see that. Why? Because most of them are living in like elderly homes and also like rehab centers. One of my uncles has been living in there for 14 years already. So we'll see, but a lot of these elderly homes, they're using technologies that has been around for the past 20 years. Well, one fun story is that one of my sales managers went in and then they saw one device, they sold them in 2001. Right? So it's very undeveloped market. So, I mean, how to make it affordable is that we find a way to take a balance between financial sustainability and making impact to the community and patients.
Okay, whatever it costs in Hong Kong, I'm sure it'll cost 10 times as much in the United States, based on how they run their healthcare. All right, ladies and gentlemen, big thank you to Alvin Cheung for coming in. Thank you. Thank you. You are going to be here later and maybe do some more demos for people if they want to have a look at it?
Yeah.
Especially investors if they want to have a closer look?
Oh, sure.
Absolutely. Okay, great. Thank you very much. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I forgot to let you know that if you get on our Facebook page, our Healthtech O2O, where we have the live stream, if you like and share, we're going to do a little lucky draw for a bottle of wine later. So feel free to get on there, and it's not a huge audience. You have a pretty good chance of putting yourself into a bottle of wine. I mentioned earlier that this is Facebook Live. People are watching around the world. Some of them have come all the way from Ghana, like Mr. Anang has come to be here. We've got people in from Canada, like Mr. Michalski over here. Thank you very much for joining us. So great to have everybody out. And we're going to go to our next speaker, if we can, Jeff. There we go. We got our next slide ready. Thank you. We'd like to introduce him. He is coming to us from Well-Being Digital. They also go by WBD 101. And maybe our speaker can tell us why that is. He is Cow Ping, but he says, just call me Cow. I said I'm the only Mr. Work he knows, and he's told me I'm probably the only cow that I've ever met, and he's right. Originally from Singapore. Now, I talked a little bit earlier how Alvin has a little bit of an unusual background for entrepreneurship, but when you look at Cow Ping, looks like he's been ready to do this and start this company and make a huge success of it. He has been an entrepreneur. I believe he founded his first company in 1997, if I'm not correct. So he's done the entrepreneur thing. He's done very well with the companies that he's founded, but he's also worked for the heavyweights in the health and technology sector. He's helped companies to grow their sales from zero up into to 45 million US dollars in a short period of time. So very much the right man to found the company, Well-Being Digital. He's going to come and tell us all about it. Cal, please, the floor is yours.
Hi, good evening. I guess the purpose why I'm standing here today, I'm going to deliver a couple of messages. I'm not doing hard sell our company, but rather that if you are in the medical business and if you want to tag onto the IoT sector, I think Hong Kong is the best. Why? Because if you think about if you're going to buy a blood pressure measuring device for mom or dad, design in Hong Kong, design in Shenzhen, which one would you buy? But having said that, we are very close to Shenzhen in such a way that when you have a healthcare IoT device, medical device idea, you can literally walk. We are based in Science Park, so we can actually walk to Shenzhen and get it done and have a prototype done in 2, 3, 4 weeks. If you're in Shanghai, if you're in Beijing, if you're in Singapore, if you're in Taipei, you can't do that. And of course, we all know Shenzhen is the biggest IoT capital of the world. So again, to refer back to what I just said, while Shenzhen is the biggest IoT capital of the world, Hong Kong, I would argue, is the best medical IoT center of the world. So we should capitalize on that. The second message I'm going to deliver today is that you probably, some of you are probably here because you want to think about how we're going to make healthcare not only affordable but available 24/7. And of course, we all heard about devices that you put on your wrist and Apple Watch. But today I'm going to talk about something different. I'm going to talk to you about the future is here. And there's not a typo in here. It's literally here. So first of all, I said don't bother about making a little wristband that you integrate to your system to measure your policy holders or measure your customers, because the watch is dead. The watch is dead because more and more people don't wear watches, especially the younger ones. I'm seeing some of you starting to hide your watch now. And of course, there's also an elephant in the room, which is Apple. And of course, Apple is not going to do anything cheap. They do things good, but they don't do anything cheap. So that's why I think the watch is dead. The other reason why the watch is dead is to look at this banana here in Hong Kong. You will find that the banana has a heart rate. Okay, maybe I can try to play it again. Hopefully, let's try to do it again.
That's funny.
So the banana has a heart rate. So what I'm trying to tell you is that actually inaccuracy in electronic device will disallow you to use it for well-being, for healthcare, much less for medical application. And a lot of these devices use, for example, green light. If some of you happen to wear this device, you filter over it green. And with green light, apparently the melanin in your skin will absorb green light, so that whatever lights you get back, signals you get back, are going to be absorbed and going to be inaccurate, for instance. That's why if you go to the hospital, you see a pulse oximeter, they use infrared, like we do. They don't use green. The other reason, of course, the biggest difference between a wrist-based device and an ear-based device is that you cannot get any coaching. So one of the biggest complaints of a wrist-based device is that people says, okay, I saw my heart rate was 120. So what do I do next? And they go, okay. There's only that amount of words that you can squeeze onto that small piece of display. Whereas in the earphone, you can actually hear what to do next. Walk faster, slow down, stop, breathe, for instance. So that's why earbuds is the new wearable. The key thing being, again, 80% of us here, even though nobody's wearing earphone right now, but I can bet you, with a bottle of wine also, that 80% of us has an earphone in our bag. So at any time today, either on your way here or going back, I'm going to be able to measure you. And by measuring you, I can give you information and then advice again, what to do. And again, we talked about maybe just 3 years ago, if you see someone walking down the street with a piece of device on their ear, your reaction is going to be, oh my God, this poor guy is deaf. But these days, if you see someone with something in the ear, you go, oh, that's cool, right? So consumer behavior is changing. And again, if you look at the average consumer, whether from young or from old, they're gonna likely have a piece of device on them. Whether you call it a hearing aid, but hearing aid, it does not necessarily have to look like a hearing aid. It can actually look much better. So the reason why, again, we focus on the ear is because we look at the average electronic device you have on you, and we said, what if we can put a sensor on that? I know that people talk about smart glasses, talk about smart clothing, smart shoes, but I would argue that when was the last time you took a shoe and plug in a USB cable to charge your shoe, right? So we look at, oh, besides your phone, there's going to be an earphone. That's why we put sensors on there. In case Andrew's going to ask me about market size, yeah, I have that market size over there. Our first goal in our company, we want to enable 80% of earphone eventually to have the ability to sense. And this sensing ability will help you in the following ways. One is, of course, if you go for a run, it will help measure your heart rate and then tell you if you are overdoing it or not. And later I'll have a demo to Zoe. The other apparent usage for measuring it is when you're on a train, on a bus going home, when you just want to sit down and you want to listen to some music. Apparently, if you are very stressed, it shows in how the pattern of your heart rate. When you're stressed, there's this physiological signal called the interbeat interval. That the duration, that's the duration between the peak of each beat. It will stay very consistent. And if it does, it means you're actually very stressed, because if it does, then this biomarker called HRV, which stands for heart rate variability, is very low, and therefore you're actually very stressed. And we all know that music helps you to de-stress. But the problem is we don't know which music helps you to de-stress. One of the local hospital here and us, we are trying to figure out, can we use this to help elderly dementia patients be less violent through the measurement of interbeat interval and through the delivering of proper music. As some of you may know, sometimes dementia patients can get very violent. So this is one of the areas that we're looking at. The other research that we are drafting a collaboration with, again, for a local university, apparently is they wanted to measure the suicidal inclination of university students. Okay, again, university student apparently under stress from a lot of school work, so they tend to do something stupid. But again, through there, if you look at university students, most of them have an earphone there. So we want to again use the piece of device that they have on them to measure that accurately. a little bit of promo, if you allow me. So on the left-hand side shows some of the products in the market today from some of the famous brands that you can see are available already. You can buy it. On the bottom right-hand corner with the green bubble to the side, basically explains what are some of the biomarkers that we're able to track that demonstrate. Okay. Should I page back? I'm going to page back and then page front again, alright? So this is a little bit promo to explain. And then again, when you look at the video, think again, in case you are about to do your own startup, in case you want to do a device for patient monitoring, for example, then at least you know what we do, and then maybe that's where we can collaborate.
When you're exercising with active technology, you can always trust that you'll get an accurate reading on your heart rate. With the latest generation of smart rate processors, you can make use of Bluetooth to have your dynamic track and displayed by Admiralty app. You may be wondering why it's important to measure one's heart rate. When exercising, it is essential to monitor your heart rate when training with factor and muscle build to avoid overexerting your heart. While our main focus has been on heart rate, you can measure other physiological data, such as respiratory rate, calories, and energy expenditure, all via Bluetooth. By implementing our technology in earphones, people are able to assess the biodata in a continuous, real-time, and non-invasive manner. What's even better is that our technology, using infrared instead of green light, is tested more than 1,000 accumulated miles with different ear shapes and skin colors, enabling anyone to gather useful data to improve their physical well-being through a wide range of exercises as shown in this video. Pushing the boundaries of what you can measure through earphones, well-being digital believes that the future is here.
So Zoe is, this is an app that she has on her. It's actually an app from Polar, and she also has a earphone around her neck that measures her real-time heart rate. She's actually more relaxed now. She was like a 99, just the heartbeat was 99 just now, but now she's down to 87. But I'm sure if we cheer her on a little bit, she'll get excited again. So this again is demonstrates that our technology is compatible with a lot of standard apps out there today that probably some of you use for running or exercising. But at the same time, as you saw on the video earlier, we are either capable or we are collaborating with different hospitals or university to measure other biomarkers. And in those aspects, if you are developing, whether it's a startup or whether it's a patient monitoring, and in that course you do your own apps, we can perhaps help you deliver additional information to you that only your user may understand. So this is basically, she's now gone down to 83. I'm sure her normal is like 75. So, okay, so back to the
All right, good job. Okay, there we go, and he's got a demo to close out the presentation. Once again, we do have some time for questions. I know this has been a product under development for some time, yes?
yeah, we've done it for a couple of years.
And you've got an announcement. This is going to be your big live world premiere of your announcement about the funding round?
Yeah, yes. Hong Kong government, of course, and Hong Kong Science Park where we are based, encourages a lot of startups and stuff. And the ability of the amount of fund these days has actually increased as compared to a few years ago when we first started, right? So yeah, we are happy to say that we closed our A round, and that's one more step towards our goal.
Okay, congratulations. Fantastic. Questions from the audience. If we have a hand that wants to go up, if you've got some questions about the technology that's underlying these. Yep, right over here.
Okay.
So I just for in case people couldn't hear the live feed, if the other technologies are so inaccurate, why are people using them? Is it price point? Are they cheaper?
Okay. The gentleman mentioned specifically about green light. It's all about wavelengths. So green light apparently has a shorter wavelength. That means that it does not penetrate your skin too deep, whereas infrared goes in much deeper. Again, we're talking about non-invasive, so you're not going to feel hurt. As you probably imagine, when you're having a cold weather, the blood vessels on the surface closer to the surface of your skin are going to contract. And so if you use this, for example, lights with shorter wavelength, you may not measure that person's heart rate accurately or at all. But you can imagine that the person will have heart rate. So by going deeper, we can get more accurate signals. But by going deeper, it involves more work. Right? And like Andrew said, we have been doing this for about, our first patent was 2008, so it was about 10 years ago. So we've been doing it for a while, and we've kind of perfected the ability to capture the signal despite using infrared. And infrared, by the way, is normally the light that's used in devices you see in hospital, like pulse oximeter, things like that.
Sounds good. Have we got any more questions out there?
I'm sure someone here is tired of corporate life and wants to put a startup.
Yeah. So, and how big is your team that you've got?
We are about 20 plus.
20 people in the company right now? Okay.
Science Park, Shenzhen.
Okay. Sounds good. And how did you, if I could, just from more business side, how do you get breakthroughs with some of these major manufacturers like JBL? I've got their products all over my house.
Well, we first started with explaining the virtues of, the need of measuring, especially as you get older. You can't do that 60 minutes, 10 click anymore. But you want to exercise, and so we started doing that. Yeah. But we realized that price points important. Yeah. So there was a question earlier about how to get the cost down. Yeah. There will be, at the end of this year, a couple of brands I know, because we're working on it, that will have devices like this that at the same price as the ones you have today that doesn't have heart rate. So it's going to be, okay, this with heart rate, this without heart rate, same price, or just, and so it make it easier for people to choose.
Okay. Sounds great. Last chance for questions. We're going to go to our next speaker. No, there we go. Thank you very much, Cal. That was great. Thank you very much. Cheers. And Cal, you will also be around doing demos later on, and you got a couple of your team with you? Yes. Fantastic. Great. Okay, so we're going to get a couple of chairs up here. We're going to switch gears a little bit. I'm going to be doing a Q&A, a little bit of a fireside chat with our next speaker from the investment sector. I'll kick things off, but we really want to give you a chance to benefit from his expertise and answer some of those questions when we get him up here. So, our next speaker came roaring out of the University of British Columbia in beautiful Vancouver, Canada. He went to Sauder School of Business, graduated with honors, and embarked on a tremendous career in investment. He worked with HSBC Asset Management in Tokyo, Hong Kong, London, Singapore, before going into the hedge fund world, joining PMA Investment Advisors, and now is the managing partner with Fresco Capital. And they have offices in, let me see if I can get these, it's Silicon Valley, they have the other managing partner, the other joint headquarters, Tokyo, and at least two, that's it, those are the three big ones, right? And of course Hong Kong, where he is the managing partner. He's on his way up now. Please welcome Tytus Michalski. Thank you very much from Fresco Capital. Okay, we got a microphone for you here. Fantastic. So, and when we did our big Healthtech event in January, we had kind of the main day program, and then we had kind of like an investors only top secret meeting later on, and I had a couple of people at that, and I remember that he was sitting up in the back row with the two guys that were on stage, and they kept, every time they said something and made some kind of thing, they'd look over at Tytus and be like, yeah, okay. I mean, so big guys in the community, thank you for coming, and we would just like to kick off and get your general view on what's going on in the investment community. There's been a lot of big announcements about kind of big money investments going through, but we're hearing from a lot of smaller companies that funding's not easy. It's very, very tough for them. Maybe you can talk a little bit about what's happening there.
Yeah, sure, happy to. And I think some of that discussion in these so-called private investor meetings is really important to share with everyone so that everyone has access to really what's going on. Because the problem is when you read the headlines, you read about $100 million or even $1 billion being raised by a startup, and then early stage founders will go to meet investors and will say, well, why is it so hard if people are able to raise $1 billion? And the trends are the same for startups generally and also in digital health. I'll talk about some of the trends in digital health specifically. So let's say the first quarter of this year, the dollar value was up, so the dollar amount is growing year on year in Asia, in the US. But if you go beyond the headlines, the number of rounds is actually declining. Right? So for example, first quarter in Asia Pacific, it was minus 15% year on year in terms of numbers of deals done. And so what's going on? And that's very consistent with what we're seeing, which is that the later stage investors, the large funds, they're actually going even later stage and saying, I don't want to take early stage risks. I want to play it so-called safe. Then at the same time, for early stage institutional funds like ours, who are early stage, we're seeing that, and so what we are telling our companies is, okay, the bar is going up. Every company has to have better metrics just to get the same money. And then where I think entrepreneurs are getting confused is there's a lot of angel money out there who hasn't been through the cycle, and so they're sometimes getting a lot of angel money that doesn't look at the valuation trends. And then when they come to funds, they're saying, well, wait a second, this angel investor was willing to invest at this high valuation, how come no funds are willing to invest? So it is very different, and I can understand why it might be frustrating for entrepreneurs.
Okay, so they're getting, I wouldn't say a bad lesson, but they're getting kind of mixed signals from the different levels of investment as they go through.
Especially, I think, the media. So I think the key for any entrepreneur is probably spend less time reading the headlines and really focusing on building the company and talking to investors as individuals, because the headlines tend to be misleading.
Okay. Is it different in different parts of the world? You know, we heard earlier from Cal, he had a pretty strong position that Hong Kong was a great place to be for the IoT wearable health tech specifically. But it could, you know, that's great. Do you agree? First of all, do you agree with that? But I mean, if you go to other places, you get different valuations from angel investors.
So I think we would split the world up into three areas of talent, market, and capital. So one of the things that we're excited by, and today was a great example of it, is the talent in Asia Pacific as entrepreneurs is really improving, right? So 5 years ago, we really struggled to find as many entrepreneurs here in Hong Kong. We're now seeing that change, certainly in digital health. So we're very excited by that. On capital, it's actually a similar trend globally. So there's lots of money everywhere, but a lot of that money, as we described, is kind of sitting on the sidelines. And then for markets, in the past, you know, as you alluded to, the U.S. is where the money was for digital health, and again, that's changing quite a bit. So I think it's a really exciting time to be an entrepreneur in Asia, and for us to be an investor.
Sure, because you guys have you've kind of shown where you think the money is based on the fact that you're a Pacific Rim company, right? You're on the West Coast of the U.S., Japan, Hong Kong.
So we do take a global view. So let's take digital health specifically. Up until last year, all of our digital health investments were in the U.S., right? And that really reflected the history of that's where a lot of the money was, the history of the U.S. system and some of the innovation. We are seeing that shift. So we are seeing that shift, but at the same time, I'm not trying to discount the importance of the U.S. market. I do think it's still a very important market. What we are seeing globally, though, is I would describe it as political fragmentation, right? So a lot of headlines on China and the U.S. What's interesting to us is if you take out China and the U.S. from the population of the world, you still have just about 6 billion people left over, which is not bad. And so no matter whether you're targeting China or the US, Southeast Asia, India, Europe, there's all these point-to-point opportunities that we see. And so for the downside of that whole approach is I spend too much time on airplanes, but we do feel like fragmentation is going to continue as a trend.
Okay. A lot of the technology that's being deployed in health tech and in medical technologies, you know, that we're heard about today, they're not from necessarily a biomedical background. Like they're using AI, they're using technology from other fields. You know, artificial intelligence, of course, is a big one. Is that the name of the game now? Can you not be in the health tech space? Can you not get an investment unless you have a strong AI angle or story as part of what you're doing?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question, because we do see AI come up in many pitch decks in healthcare, in other areas. So I would like to take a tangent that comes back to AI, but I want everyone to think about the first time you heard about Santa Claus, right? When you first heard about Santa Claus, it sounded amazing, right? It was this great story about presents coming in, and then you learned a little bit more, and you said, wait a second, it's not quite what I was told. And so first of all, as parents or other people, we did a lot of the work, right? We created the presents, we bought them, we gave them, and AI is a little bit like that. So we as users are doing a lot of the work for the companies. The companies like Santa Claus are getting the benefit. And then a second thing I would describe is little elves in the background, right? So Santa Claus has these elves in the workshop in the North Pole, and similarly a lot of AI companies, some of them will tell you, some of them won't, they have little elves, otherwise known as humans, working somewhere, classifying images, tagging data.
Yeah.
Right? And almost every AI company starts that way. The ones that we are frustrated by are the ones that don't tell you they did that. They pretend that there's a magic computer doing everything. And then also the ones that never get away from that, right? So eventually, if it's true AI, it should get away from the little elves in the background. So those are the similarities I see with Santa Claus. The one difference I would say is, generally speaking, most people see Santa Claus as a force for good. Right? So you let the stranger into your house, maybe through your chimney. He puts stuff there, doesn't steal anything. If Santa Claus was powered by AI, you would have a 50-50 chance of maybe he'll give you some stuff, maybe he's going to steal everything in your house. Right? And that's where we're at with AI right now, is that it's essentially values neutral. Right? So a bunch of companies are using AI for not very nice things. And I think that's the key for us in AI. And I think healthcare is actually one of the leading areas.
Right.
People that have worked in healthcare know that if your AI isn't solving problems, people will die. So that's really important to get that right. And I think in some other industries, that whole ethical discussion, it's there, but it hasn't been as practical. So I think for healthcare specifically, we're really excited about the opportunities. Just keeping that analogy in mind with Santa Claus, that at the beginning, there's usually a bunch of elves in the background.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite, not Healthtech, but I remember it was an app that take a picture of your business card and the information appears in your database. So imagine you're thinking, oh, this is a great optical card reader, it's fantastic. Until I found out they send the picture of your business card to like a guy in India who sits there and enters it into a computer. So yeah.
But there was one, also the expense receipts, right? There's a bunch of these AI for expense receipts. And a lot of people don't realize there's somebody looking at all your expense receipts, typing them in. And that's the AI.
The AI, right, okay. So getting into health tech, but were a lot of health tech companies putting AI into their technology when they didn't really need it, and investors are like, ooh, AI, or have investors kind of caught on to that and said, oh, wait a second, you don't need that, you don't need our money for that.
I do think healthcare is one of the areas where it's more important, and the investors are relatively sophisticated, and so people are looking at it in terms of not only the science, but the healthcare outcomes.
Okay.
Where I think the conversation becomes very nuanced is around, for example, what should the AI do and what should a human do, right? And diagnostics, right? Is where is that handoff? Should you ever go to a fully automated diagnostic? In certain areas, the answer might be no, but in certain areas, the answer might be yes. And so I think that's really a case-by-case decision. And so we, as investors, we obviously look at it ourselves, but we also work with experts who are in each domain to get that external input.
Okay, sounds good. Are there any technologies in the health tech sector right now that, tell me two things. What's hot and what's hyped?
Okay.
So what's hot? What's on its way up the Gartner tech cycle?
So maybe let me give you an answer that's a little bit different. So I would say one area where we see two parts, and we think one is in a way overhyped or has some challenges, and one is actually underhyped, even though they're in the same category. We would look at genomic data as that combination. And so we think that the part that's a little bit more overhyped is the B2C side, so direct to consumer. And as an example of that, Illumina, which is a leader in the industry, created this company called Helix, which is going to be your app store for genomic data. Obviously put lots of money in there. It hasn't gone very well. On the flip side, the B2B side, we're very excited by. We've invested in a company called BaseBear at the end of last year, and they sell to researchers and the industry. And so, why do I have this different view depending on the customers? It basically comes down to, as an average typical consumer or user, do you think that person can interpret their genomic data or can understand how to apply that to their lifestyle? And in most cases, unfortunately, I think the answer is no, right? And so you're in this really gray area. I think some companies will be just fine and be very successful, but a lot of companies, I think, will tend to cut corners and maybe oversimplify the genomic data. Whereas on the B2B side, it's super exciting because these researchers, they haven't used these powerful tools before, and so they're actually literally moving from pen and paper to some of the most cutting-edge research tools, and it's allowing them to be much more productive with the research. So we're really excited about the B2B side.
Okay, and That's kind of interesting. You know, the researchers are really happy. They're happy to get those types of things. But I mean, our investors looking at companies, great technology, great solution to a dire problem. Think everything's ready to go. But I know people sometimes find out that maybe at the institutional level they think, oh, all these public hospitals are going to buy the technology, and they don't, because they're slow. They're slow to change. Like I hear what you're saying about researchers wanting to get access to new technology. But I know people go to public hospitals saying, you guys have a desperate need to fix this, and they just won't.
So let me qualify what I mean by B2B. I should have been more specific. So unfortunately, I wish I would say it's the hospitals, but
yeah.
I agree with you. They're the slow adopters in general. So what I mean is industry. Right. So industry, for example, one industry is the fertility industry.
Sure.
Right. And they're actually very quick to adopt new opportunities. Anything to do with genomic data around the food industry. They're looking for solutions. So when we talk about B2B, it's about commercial applications of the data. And the reason the researchers are important is both because they are some of the earliest adopters and because of the scientific credibility that you get. Right? So if a scientist at Harvard is using a tool, that's probably a decent sign that something's going on there. They're doing something right. So it's a lot of times the researchers as individuals are great, and then the bigger business opportunities B2B. And I agree, at some point hospitals are using this technology, but probably not the first step.
Okay, gotcha. I'll share a little example. My wife started a health tech company back during the dot-com boom. And the idea was they were going to go to hospitals and they were going to provide an online ordering system because the systems they were using to order supplies for the hospitals was antiquated. This is going to be faster, keep all your records. It'll help you to make it more transparent so everybody can see what's going on. And they went into the Taiwanese market, and then it was just nobody wanted it because once it's transparent, you can't take bribes. And that was the killer. And so those hospitals years later were still going, pencil, paper orders, took them forever. Okay, I am going to go to the audience for questions if you have anything you'd like to ask. And I'll give you a chance to think about that. But one thing I did want to ask about was, you talked about aging population. We mentioned aging population. It's going to be a big driver of health tech. Maybe we didn't. Maybe I just made it up. Japan, the most aging society. You've got an office there. I think a lot of people don't have visibility into Japan, but it's a great. We all know great technology comes out of there, but you guys actually have boots on the ground. What are you hearing from the Japanese market?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think now Japan is getting more traction in this world where people have realized that Asia, has a few different countries in it, right? Not just one. And so Japan and healthcare in particular, we think is a hugely exciting market. What maybe people don't appreciate is that you don't necessarily have to go through a hospital to get to those end customers. And so what we're talking to and what we're spending time with in Japan is corporate partners who have consumer and customer relationships that want to bring healthcare technology to those customers, even though their current business is not healthy. Right? And so I'm not at the stage where I can talk about specific names, but these are companies that have a really strong consumer base, and at the same time they haven't gotten into healthcare yet, and they see that opportunity. Okay. So really becoming a distribution channel for market entry. So that's really exciting. Where we struggle in Japan is we haven't found as many entrepreneurs as we found in other areas. So that's still been a challenge. We think that will happen. It's going to take a little bit longer. So for now, our sweet spot for Japan is helping foreign companies, whether that's from Hong Kong or Europe or the US, come into Japan. And then of course over time, we are also looking to invest in startups in Japan as well.
So do you co-invest with Japanese investors taking over the market, or maybe Japanese investors that want exposure outside Japan?
So far the latter. So far Japanese investors being more global. We found that their approach to being global is really interesting because they know they can't do it themselves.
Yeah.
Right. So they're open to partnership. Sometimes the challenge you get with investors from, let's say, the US and China is that they think they can do it all themselves, and so you have to be a little bit more careful. But with these Japanese corporates, they know, they've been through it, they've made the mistakes, the 1980s, there's all those mistakes that they made, so they're a little bit more thoughtful about how they're going global these days.
Okay, what about co-investing with investors based in Hong Kong or just across the border into China? Is there a lot of that happening?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think Hong Kong and China, it really depends on the company and the mix that we're looking at. We are seeing that, for example, in the region, another firm, going back to the discussion we had at the beginning around which investors are active, B Capital, I would say, is a really interesting group that has offices in Singapore and also the US and understands digital health. And so I think for entrepreneurs that are looking for digital health expertise, there's probably a shorter list. But that said, it depends on the startup. For some startups, you may be looking for a channel partner or other things. So it really is case by case.
Okay, sounds good. Questions from the audience. I said I'd give you guys a chance to put your hands up and ask something from our star investor here. You got a hand? We got a hand? These guys are just wow. Fantastic. What is the latest you're seeing out of Silicon Valley? What are people excited about there? Because that's sometimes where the really big money starts flying around.
Yeah, so definitely valuation is a challenge there, and it's a lot of cost inflation. So real estate prices are up, talent is expensive, and so the trend that we're actually seeing there, finally, is that people are building more remote teams. So for a very long time, up until about 3 years ago, people were just obsessed about only hiring in the Bay Area. But finally, we're seeing people have realized that, wow, that's a really expensive way to grow a team. And so we're finally starting to see that change. That said, what's happening is that the valuations are higher, the rounds are bigger, and most of that is really still cost inflation. So for the last 12 months, we've actually been investing more in other parts of the world. Not that we're not investing in the Bay Area, but just, it has been a challenge in terms of valuation.
Okay, sounds good. So, very good. So I think, ladies and gentlemen, we have a question over here. Thank you from David from Hong Kong University Science and Technology.
So Tytus, why are you in Hong Kong? What do you think is unique about this investor atmosphere or startup atmosphere, and what words would advice would you give to entrepreneurs here in the room?
So why are you in Hong Kong, and what advice would you give to entrepreneurs here?
So what brought me to Hong Kong really is the global outlook and aspects of Hong Kong itself. And I would echo the comments earlier that there's a lot of fantastic reasons to start a company in Hong Kong, especially if you have a global mindset. And so for entrepreneurs that are building their companies in Hong Kong, I would definitely say that, one, Hong Kong as a base makes a lot of sense. And at the same time, I wouldn't limit yourself to Hong Kong. You could think about whether that's a base for China, whether that's a base for Japan, other parts of the world, because Hong Kong as a base for us as investors is fantastic.
Okay, sounds good. All right. Yeah, right over here. Thank you.
Most promising realistic investments in blockchain healthcare.
Blockchain and healthcare. That's something else that we do at NexChange. It's in our wheelhouse, but what do you think?
Right. So the challenge we've had there was that keyword you put in, realistic. And we're really excited by a lot of technology. It's just that a lot of the infrastructure is being built. And for us, when we look at healthcare, a lot of the opportunities are more of an application of blockchain. That said, we actually did run a hackathon in India last year around blockchain and opportunities. And the most surprising thing that came out of that was using blockchain to track fraudulent blood donation supply. Wow. Right? Yeah. So that's consistent with what we've seen as one of the so-called killer apps for blockchain is fraud. Right? So fraud in any sector. But typically you wouldn't think of blood donation. But when I heard that, okay, yeah, that actually makes sense. So I think in healthcare, fraud and managing fraud and going back to your point, transparency, that would be really exciting as an area for us.
Okay, and I guess with the problems they've had with tainted blood in places like China and other jurisdictions, it's also an issue. So there we go. Last chance before we give away a bottle of wine, ladies and gentlemen. There we go. Thank you. Tytus, that's absolutely fantastic. Are you sticking around for a little bit?
I will be around. Happy to chat more.
We will have networking. You can come and meet the man Michalski, our other entrepreneurs as well. But thank you very much. I will let you surrender the stage, and we'll give away a bottle of wine. Maybe you'll be a winner.
Good luck.
Thank you very much. Fresco. Totally not ready. Okay. We need to get, okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a second to get that, pull that together, but I do want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. We are going to have demos continuing, yes, we just heard about the great talent from Hong Kong. Alvin, I'm sure he was thinking of you when he said that. Fantastic. So we will have demos. We will, people can hang out, do a little bit of networking here at this fantastic venue supported by the Hong Kong Science and Technology Park. We heard a lot of people say a lot of nice things about them today. If you would like, we have been running Facebook Live. For those of you that know how it works, as soon as we finish, it gets posted and processed automatically. So if you want to see the interviews that we did before we started, where we asked some questions of our entrepreneurs, our CEO founders tonight, you can do that. So Thank you very much for coming. And do we have a name of our winner? We do, and it's Betty Lynn. Betty Lynn has won a bottle of Lynn wine. Thank you for coming out. Thank you for liking. Thank you for sharing. There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it. My name is Andrew Work from NexChange. Get on our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We got the interns doing Instagram. They're doing a bang-up job. It's awesome. Much better now. Thank you very much, and we'll see you in a couple of minutes for a drink. Thanks. Betty, you got a bottle of wine for you.
Thank you.
We would just like to do a really quick interview. The winner of our bottle of wine. So, you're Betty and what do you do?
I'm a faculty at the HK University of Science and Technology.
Cool. So, what brought you here today?
I'll actually be running a workshop this summer with 2 other universities on Healthtech. So this topic is very important. It's very popular right now. And I just want to check out the scenery, the Healthtech scene, and see. Also, I got 2 startups going. I want to meet some investors, so I got to meet them as well today. So
Awesome.
I got exactly what I was looking for. This event. So happy to come out, especially with the
Awesome.
So, random question. What is one piece of advice you would give to your 18-year-old self?
my 18-year-old self.
Yeah.
Oh, there are just so many things going on. I mean, just don't stay at home. Now, mingle. It's not what you can do, so you know that.
Some wise words. Thank you so much.